Hello, and welcome to Saving People, Queering Things, a supernatural podcast. We were previously known as Driver Picks the Podcast, and the episode you're about to listen to was recorded under that name. Though our name has changed as of season 3, our show hasn't changed that much. Our structure and theme-based discussions are the same, and we're so glad you're here. Now, let's get on the road. Hello, and welcome to Driver Picks the Podcast, the show where we talk about ghosts, road trips, and free will through every episode of the TV series Supernatural. Today, we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 16, Shadow, through the theme of peer pressure. I am Abigail, your host, and joining me today are two of my favorite co-hosts who have been with me for a few episodes now, Jacob and Sam.
Hello. I'm really upset that you didn't react to me interrupting your
I did. Did you see my face?
No, I didn't. I was too busy looking at Abigail.
I thought you were going to do the opening of the can during when you said hello. And so I didn't. I was
that would have been better.
I don't know what reaction to have. And so I didn't have a proper reaction.
Well, I'm going to make sure every time when I'm on the podcast, I'll have something to crack open. Sam and I are back. We're here to cause more chaos.
Yes.
Now
the best combination.
Another fun episode for me to edit is it's becoming easier and easier to edit these episodes, but I have a feeling this episode.
You know what? You specifically requested us both, did you? Or did we just say we were only going to
No, we just decided that we're going to be on this podcast together.
So with that, it is now time for our series recap, The Road So Far. And I thought we might try something different today, which I did not prep either of you for.
Oh my gosh.
No.
It's no worries. There's no 30-second series recap.
It's a 15-second series recap.
No, what I want for you is Sam is going to go give 3 details about what's happened from the pilot. I'm going to give 3 details, and then Jacob's
you're going to put Jacob last. That's so cruel.
But also because Jacob has only seen 3 episodes, and they're on the later end. He's seen episodes 13, 15, and 16.
11. Wait.
Oh, right. No. Oh, yeah. 11, 15, and 16.
Is that right?
Okay. Put this off the record.
Off the record.
I took an edible like a few hours ago because I forgot that I was going to be talking to you.
You forgot.
And
I
was like, oh, this is a perfect amount of time before bed. I'll just take one because my joints were hurting.
So Jacob and I had this conversation last episode, and it actually didn't make it into the episode, but we're going to put it in now with a great idea that we had for a future episode.
I would love to do, you don't have to participate, but I would love to get high and just watch an episode and then talk about it, because I think that would be hilarious.
I might be into that. Because so a couple of our hosts I know have done that before coming on and recording. So you are free to do that. That is 100% allowed.
Because it's 9:40. It's late for us old people.
Yeah, I'm so tired.
And we're tired, and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm getting tired, and existential stuff is starting to come out. So I'm
so if
I add getting high, that would be
you'll have so many things to bring, and then we'll listen back to it and see if
it'd be an awful one to edit for other reasons.
Oh, but that's okay.
So much information.
That's okay. It will be fun. We'll do it. I think it sounds like I like this.
You have to figure out an episode. Season 4, episode 20.
Season 4, episode 20. Okay, but the thing is about season 4, episode 20. I'm gonna look up which episode that is, but I'm actually pretty sure I know which episode that is, and it's a very significant episode.
So even better.
For those of you who have seen Supernatural through season 4, episode 20, I believe it's the one called Lucifer Rising.
Nope.
No, it's not.
The Rapture.
Oh my. Oh. So it's the Rapture, which
I probably shouldn't say or should read the.
It's okay. It's a very significant. This is a little bit of a spoiler segment, clearly.
I'm not going to say anything, but I'm just reading it myself.
You're just reading it yourself. It's not going to necessarily make a whole lot of sense, but it's for.
It seems like it's a continuation of another episode.
It is a continuation. It's a continuation of a particular character's story arc. I think it would be. I don't know if it would be the best one to do high.
But
it's actually
number.
But the number.
It would be so perfect. I
That's
still
fair.
think it should.
That's fair. I mean,
don't-
if you don't want, if you want to wait till season 4, you might not want to wait till season 4.
I mean, I think we should still do it for that one just for the
Oh,
number.
you know, that's fair.
But like,
I can get behind that.
I think it's not about doing it on a weird one. It's about
No.
doing it for one that's going to cause a lot of existential.
So I can
conversation.
look at I will look at the episodes and I
Okay.
will figure out that, because that I think I can do. There are a
Yeah.
lot of episodes
We
that are
get some edibles and just like boom,
and have some
go
fun.
for it. Have
Some fun. Yes. Okay. That's a plan. Stay tuned for the episode where we do this.
Hi, Mom.
Oh,
No, my mom doesn't listen to this. Don't worry.
no,
I specifically haven't told them about it because I don't want them to hear me swearing my fucking mouth off.
I mean, I've also not told my mother for the same reason, and will not be. I also haven't posted it on my public Facebook for this reason. I'm
Perfect.
very selective about who I tell about this podcast.
Exactly.
I want listeners, but I also want to not have awkward conversations at family dinners.
Yes. Exactly. So Abigail, I heard you got high while watching a show called Supernatural. You want
I'm
to
not
tell us
sure.
about that?
I'm not sure, but the thing is, I'm not sure which one I'd be more embarrassed by, the getting high or the watching Supernatural one, because the show is such a trash pile that I'm not sure which one
I think
deserves more.
I think both together.
Both together
would be interesting.
would be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be quite the family discussion.
Oh, it would be. Oh, it would be. It would be.
Season 4, episode 20. We're all gonna get high and watch the episode,
Oh my God.
and then do the podcast.
Are you going to include in the episode where I explain why I'm weird, or I'm just going to be?
That's up to you. You said it was off the record, but if you're willing to have it not off the record,
I mean, I came out already,
on the podcast.
so I feel like after that,
anyway,
I just say we bake a big batch of brownies and go to town.
yeah,
oh my gosh, yes,
we'll do that one when you can be in person, Sam.
please.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that aside, we are gonna do our road so far recap in a fun new way, starting with Sam. What we're gonna do is starting with Sam, then myself, then Jacob. We're each gonna give 3 plot details starting from the beginning of the show and see how far we make it. This is the only context we're giving for the whole season. So choose your 3 details wisely.
Dean likes pie.
Okay.
Loves. Sam and Dean's mom is dead. Sam's girlfriend died in the same way their mom did.
All right.
Sam and Dean are looking for their missing father. Their missing father is avoiding all of their calls. Sam has some weird powers.
Meg is a bitch.
Going right
Just
for the
gets
jugular
more
there.
and more real.
Papa Jeff is a dick.
That also gets
And-
more and more real.
And Dean is a horny son of a bitch.
Those are all really good points.
So that brings us to this episode actually quite concisely. And with that, that's going to bring us to our 30-second recap of episode 16, Shadow.
All right, I'm going last again. All right, you ready?
Okay, yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Meg is back, and it turns out that she has been summoning a demon and is working with presumably another demon and trying to lure John into a trap by capturing Sam and Dean, and she almost successfully does it, and they manage, but the boys do manage to escape, and John continues on his way to try and hunt Meg and the demon down, and Sam and Dean very, very sadly go on their own way.
Are you ready?
I forget how many seconds I have.
You have 30.
30.
This,
Okay.
oh my,
That's what I thought, because
That
at first
edible
I
is
was
a-
like 60.
Wow.
No,
That's
too much.
you ready?
No. 1 sec.
1.
don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
I'll be whatever.
It's a
guy I
dad joke, Jacob.
want. Maybe I'm a dad. You don't know me.
That's, well, I mean,
I don't know. I'm not a dad. Not yet, at least.
I thought you were gonna say I don't know and then just stop. Be like, well, I don't know. I could be.
Maybe. You don't know my life.
No, like you wouldn't. Never mind.
Maybe I don't know.
That was the joke.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
I
Sam,
caught on.
give your 30-second recap so we can get to the damn content of this episode.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so there's this like shadow demon monster, and it's really weird and creepy that is killing people. And then Sam and Dean go to the town that the murders are happening, and then they find Meg, and they meet back up with Meg, and Dean is very flirty with her and kind of egging Sam on, but Sam is kind of suspicious of Meg, and
Done.
other shit happens.
Nice. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So as I said before, Dean's a horny son of a bitch. So I'm just going to list off all the people that he was horny for in this episode alone. We've got Amy, the police officer. We've got the bartender. Weirdly, Meg, even though Meg was with Sam, and then Sam was like kind of having sex with her. There was something going on when they were interrogating her. And then she was kind of being a little flirty with Dean, and then went back to being flirty with Sam while they're tied up. I don't know what kind of shit they're into.
That was a great ending.
Can I propose that you periodically do that as your recap? Particularly with specific episodes?
Sure.
Because there are episodes where that would be really funny.
Yeah, sure. That could be like Jacob's 30-second recap is just like all the people that they're horny with.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
This is a not safe for work podcast.
Side note, don't include this. Oh wait, this is a spoiler. I was gonna say just wait until Cass comes around.
Oh yeah.
And then it'll just be like
I thought you were gonna say like Meg was gonna get it on with both of them. I was gonna go, oh boy.
Though I was gonna say, and this I will keep in, Sam's choice of girls. This is where it starts to go a little bit sideways.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I love Jess. Jess was great. Sam's choice in girls from this point starts to be questionable, starting with Meg. We are going to now discuss this episode through our chosen theme, and this week our theme is peer pressure. Sam, were you going to say something?
Yeah, but it was about the comment about Sam and his choice of girls. I made a note of Meg saying to Sam when he was tied up, saying something, I didn't catch it. We can still have a little dirty fun.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh come on, Sam.
Yeah.
And I was like, foreshadowing.
Yeah, they were doing some like unintentional heavy-handed foreshadowing for some of Sam's later choices.
Oof.
Not necessarily, for Jacob's sake, not necessarily in the exact way you would think, but if you know what comes later. Our theme is peer pressure. And Sam, you said you have a lot of notes today, so can I pass it over to you to start with one of them?
Yeah, this is Sam's podcast now. Sorry, Abigail.
Oh, then Sam can do the editing for this nightmare of an episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Sam finishes eating some snack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just make one brief comment about peer pressure that's not an important one, but the very beginning of the episode with Sam and Dean and the outfits. That clearly Sam has peer
That was
pressure.
my first note.
There we go. What were you going to say about it?
Oh, I was just going to say that it was a funny comment that he made about that, like, Dad and I never needed these costumes. Sam is like making him wear it.
Yeah, it's not going to be the first. This is one of the first times. It will not be the last time that Sam is like, for believability, we need to dress official. And Dean is like, also, I hate this.
I took a bunch of notes about like the bar scene and just like Dean being a flirt in general.
But
And
I will
the
note,
first
I will note, Dean is a flirt in a lot of these early episodes, but is not the greatest closer. We've seen him actually close the
That's
deal
true.
like once in 16 episodes, I think.
well, it
We've
was
had it heavily implied a
it was
bunch of other
implied
times.
that he closed with Amy.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
It was. That's fair. That's fair.
But he was definitely
Seems more interested in the flirting
there
than
was some hardcore peer pressure to get his brother some action in that
Yeah.
scene.
His brother, who, for the record, lost his girlfriend to a tragic death not that long ago.
Oh, well, the first thing I have, I put in my notes, I said Dean the flirt and Sam the researcher. Because like the first thing they do when they like come in is like Dean goes to the bar to talk to the bartender and Sam sits down with the journal.
Yeah. They're doing different kinds of research, honestly. Like I was thinking about that in that episode because Dean, yes, it's like going to the bar and flirting, but also he gains a bunch of he gains information. The information is basically that there's no information, but that turns out to be accurate. Like it's not just like he's going to a random bar. Like he went to the bar where the victim worked.
He was using his flirting techniques to try and gain information from the bartender.
Which is not like the first time we've seen him do that and won't be the last time we see him do that. But yeah, it's interesting because Sam's research is like I'm going to go and get the books and like go to the library. And Dean's is like, I'm going to go talk to all the people.
What other notes on our
Oh,
theme?
what, do you just want me to read out my notes?
All right, well, what do you have?
Wow, this is a disaster. No, what do you have another note, Sam?
Well, I wrote down a bunch of quotes, which I now realize maybe shouldn't have been what I wrote down.
That's what I do most episodes, so it does tend to work.
Well, do you remember what the quotes were significant about in your
Yeah,
notes?
they're not that significant.
Okay.
But actually, you know what, this relates to like that Dean is the one who like finds out information.
Mm-hmm.
He like comes back over and Sam says, did you get anything besides her number? And Dean says, dude, I'm a professional. I'm offended that you think that. All right, yeah. And like holds up like a napkin with her number on it. I was like, yeah.
I mean, it just shows their age too. Like they're both 20-year-olds.
Dean is 26 and Sam is 22.
Yeah, so they're both still 20-year-olds. So they're
Yeah, they're very young. They're very young.
They are very young at 26 years old, right? They are very young.
Yes, they are. Jacob and I are also very young.
Yeah, at
approximately
roughly the same age.
Roughly the same age.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I was gonna say something.
Y'all are being depressing over there.
I was gonna say
Shut
something
up.
coherent.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna be the one to bring us back.
Okay.
Let's try and
Bring us back.
calm this down here. No. Peer pressure. I feel like like the funny joke about peer pressure is like Dean trying to peer pressure Sam into like getting with all these, especially Meg. He was like, no, Meg's not a bad girl. Go stalk her and ask her out and be creepy.
He does not. To be fair, he does not tell Sam to stalk her.
Okay,
he just actually tells Sam to go and like interact with her, and then Sam makes the choice all on his own self to just stalk her.
Sam makes the decision to watch her, which he genuinely was like trying to watch her because he was suspicious of her. But then Dean was like, go to her front door and knock on the door when he's sitting in his car outside her house.
Which is less creepy though once you've been sitting outside her house, like less creepy than just staying and sitting outside her house.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that he knows where she lives.
Yeah.
That's what's creepy about it.
It is. No, I'm not saying it's not creepy. Just saying they're both being kind of creepy.
Well, yeah, of course they are.
It's very yeah.
Okay, this is just post-production Abigail interrupting to say that our next little conversation is about the scene when Meg has Dean and Sam tied up and is talking to them, and that there are some elements of sexual assault in this scene. If that's something you're sensitive to or don't want to hear a discussion of, skip past this next few minutes.
Also, the whole sexy scene where she was like, I knew you were watching me. You liked watching me. I liked it when you were watching me.
It's
yeah. Shut up.
Yeah, the scene I forgot about. I haven't seen this episode. I feel like this is an episode that I actually haven't seen very many times, and I didn't remember parts of it to begin with. And like the scene, yeah, when she has them both tied up and she's like weirdly sexy flirting with Sam and then Dean, which is weirder because like they clearly don't like each other, and with Sam it's weird because she's like just like it's a lot.
Feels like if they went on for any longer, there would have been no more clothes, just with the two of them,
and
which would have been weird.
Would have just been weird. And like you do know pretty quickly that Sam is like, both Sam and Dean are letting it happen because it's strategically to their advantage to get away at this point. But it's still like goes on for a long time. There's a lot of very close-up shots, and it's like, I mean, well, but this is the thing is like, and we're gonna see this in the show in general a bunch of other times. I'm trying to remember if we've seen it at this point. I think this is maybe the first time where we're gonna see like people of multiple genders taking advantage of the boys in vulnerable positions, like using sexuality or sensuality to like try and take advantage of them, or to like, yeah, like this is not going to be the first time that one of them is going to be tied up or both of them is going to be tied up, and something like what Meg is doing is going to happen. I'll maybe put a little bit of a content warning on that, because yeah, there's like it's a really uncomfortable scene, because she is like taking advantage of them, and it's gross.
Another thing, I can't remember when it was, if it was at the end with Papa Jeff or not, but it was the point where they were like trying to be manly men, and we said something about toxic masculinity.
Oh,
when was that again?
When was that?
I feel like that was, because I remember that and being like, oh, that's, I mean, you have some hardcore, and I can relate to this, hardcore peer pressure of like being in a toxic situation where someone's trying to peer pressure you into being be a man or something like that. I think it might even have been to do with like,
was it the conversation that they had about,
I honestly think it might have been to do with the girl and like being a man and just like going and being with her or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't quite remember.
I can't remember either. But yeah, like the idea of like not dealing with your feelings, and just like going for it.
I feel like there's a lot of like toxic masculinity stuff in this episode. However, there was a lot of crying at the end. Yes. A lot of emotions, which is good.
Well, it's one of the notes I have. Lots of emotions.
Yeah, there's a few scenes in this episode that are kind of iconic, actually. Oh, another peer pressure note I had was actually the very first interaction with Meg, Dean, and Sam, where like when Sam introduces Dean to Meg, and Meg immediately goes to like, she immediately like doesn't like Dean, makes sure Dean knows it, and like accuses him of like being like dragging Sam around against his will, and like she basically accuses Dean of like a really nasty peer pressure to get Sam to do what Dean wants. And obviously, knowing what we know later, Meg is, trying to get under their skin. Yeah, because that's what leads to the conversation that they have later, where Dean asks, like, Sam is like, that actually how you feel? Like, is that how you feel? Is that what you said to Meg? Mm-hmm. And Sam's like, no. And then they're like, don't talk about it. And that's where we were like, that's toxic masculinity, because they like refused to talk about the accusation of Meg that like Dean was peer pressuring Sam into just staying with it.
Yeah, but they refused to talk about everything.
Yeah,
toxic
that's
masculinity.
That's the whole idea.
I'm just saying it's not only this time.
Yeah,
No.
no. I mean, if they didn't have that, though, they wouldn't have the conflict in the plot, like the plot devices to move the story forward. So
They dealt with their family, they dealt with their emotional problems like in a mature way. Most of this show wouldn't exist.
Exactly.
It's true. It wouldn't be interesting.
Toxic masculinity makes life interesting. Nope.
No, that's not what I meant.
Not a good slogan.
Sure, Sam. Sure. You're pro toxic masculinity.
Definitely. Yes.
Right,
Me as a woman.
We have it on the record. Book them, boys.
Oh no.
Don't take an advantage of me. I'm high.
Double book them. We got her.
I have another note
Can't
on. So we've had a bunch of instances of peer pressure. One note I had, not about a specific instance, but about Sam's character in general, is that there is like Sam has this conversation with Dean about wanting to like basically being like, well, what if we actually get the demon? What if it actually is over tonight? And Sam being like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I'm gonna go back to school. Like I'm gonna live my life. And Dean's like, what? Like you're gonna like just like ditch me? And Sam resisting the pressure, which I think we know already that Sam, this is not the first time Sam has like resisted the pressure of his family to like live the life that he wants to live. And again, Sam's like reiterating like, I'm going to live my life. Like I'm going to make my decisions. I don't intend to be a hunter forever.
Yeah, that was a point where I was thinking of that as well. Because it was like, yep. Like it wasn't even like him having to say anything. It was just like, it was just Dean's mannerisms and how he responded was very like, very peer pressure-y.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that scene's really interesting too, because we also get to find out a little bit more about like Dean's perception of it, because Sam, as soon as they realize they might have shot at the demon that killed Jess and their mom, Sam's immediately being like, wow, this could almost be over. I can then go live a normal life that I've like never, like the thing I've been wanting my whole life. And Dean.
I was just going to say, I kind of made a note of that. I was going to say there's like a lot of like relief, and Jacob, stop laughing at me. I can see your fucking face.
I'm sorry, you're just so funny tonight.
You made me forget again.
You were saying Sam has always.
Oh yeah, I was saying Sam, like there was this tone of like relief and like anticipation kind of in his voice and what he said.
Yeah,
like about like it ending and it being over and going back to like normal life.
Yeah, which is a contrast with Dean, who says, you know, like Sam asks, what are you gonna do when this is all over? Like you could do anything. And Dean goes like, there's always going to be something to hunt. I think Sam has this idea of a life beyond hunting, and Dean doesn't. And
that is his life.
That is his life. And I think that's coming from like both of their childhoods and the way they've responded to their childhoods. Yeah, Sam is really concerned with like, this is, you know, if we can deal with this one thing that like set the trajectory of our lives on this path, once that's over, I don't have any obligation to like keep going in this. Whereas I think Dean's, like most of his identity has been wrapped up in being a hunter. And so he has not even, I think, thought about a different life. And when we get a lot of flashbacks over the course of the show, we're gonna get tons of flashbacks there in the show that like Sam has pretty much always been looking for a way to like live a normal life. And Dean has pretty much always been pretty certain that he didn't have a choice for a different life, and that he was like, actually this was the only thing that he was good for or was like able to do with his life.
And that brings Papa Jeff and him peer pressuring his kids to live the life of a kill hunter, monster hunter.
Yes.
I did it.
Yes, you
did it.
Woo! You made the connection. Let's talk about, we finally get more than 20 seconds of John Winchester in the flesh, interacting with the boys.
Sorry, Papa Jeff, you mean?
Okay, Jacob. Papa Jeff.
There we go.
Which is, what I do appreciate about calling him Papa Jeff. There's no gravitas to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great because I don't want to give John Winchester any gravitas.
Exactly.
So if I call him Papa Jeff, takes away all the gravitas.
Exactly.
It's great.
It just becomes tiny little Papa Jeff.
Tiny little Papa Jeff pulling the strings.
Yep.
Yeah, so we meet the infamous Papa Jeff. And we're getting now another instance of him being right there in a situation where the boys are in danger and not showing up until after it's over. Because like, as much as he says, I got there right as Meg took her swan dive out the window, I'm like, did you really? Is that actually when you arrived? Or were you like watching? Were you like waiting? John Winchester's not, and like Sam said earlier on, like, John is not dumb. He's not going to walk into a trap. He suspected it was going to be a trap. I am willing to bet that he was there earlier and chose not to intervene because.
So what I would like to point out with meeting Papa Jeff actually for the first time, because like we only heard him on the phone the one time.
Yeah. And we've seen him one other time. So in episode 9, Home, when the boys were in their childhood town dealing with a case and they had called John to come and help them and John did not show up. And then at the end of the episode, we get a scene where we see that he did show up. He just didn't intervene, didn't talk to them.
Okay.
So he is.
So that's all that I know.
we've seen.
But this is the first time we've like actually met them and they've been together for the first time. So not knowing all this stuff, I don't, as a quote unquote first time watcher, don't have any reason to not like him at this point, really.
That's
because
fair.
He's the way that he's giving off, the way that he's emoting and the way that he's talking is like very emotional and crying and sad and like
It's true.
It makes sense that they're not like they don't seem mad at him, they just seem like happy to see him almost.
Yeah, which is I think really fair, and like they have been looking for him this whole time. Obviously, Jacob, you've only seen like 3 episodes, episode 11, 15, and 16. And in episodes 9 and 12 we had 2. There might also be a third instance of this as well, of them calling him and him not showing up. So we have actually gotten some evidence that he doesn't show up when they're in danger. Yeah. And when they make emotional pleas to him. But yeah, like it's interesting watching the scene where they reunite because they're just like, I mostly, it seems like they're just so incredibly relieved to see him that all of the like frustration sort of falls away. Though I will note that like Dean immediately goes in for a hug. But Sam and him have this weird, like looking at each other.
I wrote that down.
They don't know how to interact. Bearing in mind, they have not seen each other. The last time they saw each other, I'm saying this for Jacob's sake and also for any viewers, listeners. The last time they saw each other, Sam was telling them that he was going to go to Stanford. And John said, if you leave, don't come back. That's the last time they saw each other. So
that's why he says, like John says, like, no, it happened again.
Did you write it down?
That's what John says. Like John's like Sam left and John said, don't come back. And then you were about to say, and that's why John said.
I have the quote.
Okay.
No, stop. Okay, I guess I didn't write it down. Fuck off, you guys.
Different show.
So mean.
We just needed to complete that little reference for all of you out there.
Oh, so funny.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I believe, I'm not sure exactly which quote you're referring to, I don't remember everything that John says immediately, Sam, but one of the things he does say that I remember is he says like, it's been a long time. And he said, and it's interesting.
Yeah, he said it's been a long time. And then I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, go for it. I want to hear you.
And then he's like, we had a big fight the last time we talked.
Yeah, he was like, we know we didn't part on he said something around the lines of like, I know we didn't part on good terms.
Last time we
had a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
And what I found really interesting and really telling for what we know of John Winchester at this point is that he points out that they had a fight. He says it's been a long time. He does not apologize.
Yeah.
He does not take any responsibility for the fight.
Yeah.
Which I found really interesting. And also I found really interesting, like Sam also doesn't actually talk to him about the fight. Doesn't really acknowledge anything.
No, he didn't really acknowledge it.
Which is
very classic toxic masculinity thing. Neither of them are taking responsibility for either of their actions.
And I will note that Dean looks incredibly wary the entire time that they are reacting. The entire time that John and Sam are interacting in that scene, Dean looks incredibly wary. Like it looks like he's waiting for one of them to go off, which is not unwarranted. We're going to see them go off at each other. So deal with your traumas and learn to communicate about your feelings.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing to do. Prevents you from, not speaking to your son because he wanted to go to school like a normal person. Just a friendly piece of advice for any of you out there that are in the same situation that John and Sam Winchester were in 2002.
Specifically.
Very specific.
But if you have had that situation, please contact us. We'd love to have you on the podcast.
Yes, we would.
Yeah.
Hear your story.
Yeah. I know. Would love
hear
to
your story.
That was terrifying. I mean, we'd mainly love to have you on the podcast so we could hear all the crazy tales of all the supernatural things you fought. So
yes.
Yeah,
it's true.
We do mean exactly the same.
Yeah. If you have been in exactly that situation, we're so.
And your names are Sam and John.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want Jeffrey Dean Morgan on this podcast. Let's be honest.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, if you're listening,
imagine having Jeffrey Dean Morgan on this podcast, and imagine having Jeffrey Dean
in Abigail's living room.
Well, I also just want to point out that of all the actors we could have so far, the only one whose character we've trash talked in almost every single episode has been Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character.
But imagine
because he's an incredible actor and plays
terrible characters. But imagine having him on the podcast and trashing his character with him. How amazing would that be?
The thing is, okay, so the thing with talking discussions about John Winchester within the supernatural fandom, this is going to get a little bit meta. If you're in the supernatural fandom and you have been for any number of years, you'll know. John Winchester is an incredibly polarizing figure. And a lot of people, including I think a lot of the writers and producers, seem to forget that they've given us all of these clues to that John is not a good father.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of keep trying to retcon that and
make him a good father?
Or make us think as viewers that he's a good, I sometimes think that the writers think or some of the writers, not all the writers, but that sometimes the team thought that John Winchester was more sympathetic than he actually was, because the vast majority of the fandom does not think he was a good father. But sometimes the show tries to do things that make you think that the characters think he was. It's very contradictory. Which is why I would be actually very curious about for someone like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, what he would actually think of his character. Does he objectively, given all of the context, I think he's a fantastic character, but is he a good father? Jeffrey Dean Morgan, if you have opinions and you want to share them, come on this show.
Just give us an email. We'll have.
You can come and pretty much talk whatever you want to talk about.
Have your people talk to our people.
And our people in this scenario is just me.
But they don't know that.
Yeah, shh, Abigail, cut that out.
It's a trash podcast about a trash show. Sam, do you have any other notes on peer pressure or on this episode in general before we move to our next segment?
Stop fucking asking me about my notes.
You were the one who took all the notes. This is your fault.
You scrolled through about 5 seconds worth of scrolling on your phone of notes. So we expected you to have a bunch of notes, which is why I keep coming back to you.
There are a few scenarios.
Okay.
Either I was high when I wrote this, or I'm too high right now to understand it.
I like to think it's a mix of both.
All I'm asking is that you send me your notes. Okay.
Holy shit.
That's a lot of notes. Maybe you should get high before every episode, because then, oh my word, that's a lot of notes. I mean, these are actually really coherent notes. They don't read like most of your normal typing, which is probably the being high. But they're very good notes.
Oh, I got some. It's at the very, very end. You said, and I agree with this. This was something that I was going to talk about, but we could have gone a very long, deep conversation about it. Is John is kind of peer pressuring them to go on his own by Dean, but is peer pressured by Sam to stay. So there's the conflicting pressure by the two of them to do something different. But then John is pressuring them.
I wrote that down too.
That's why he's bringing it up. He's interpreting your notes because you were not capable of doing that.
Oh,
from your own fucking notes, you stoner.
Well, I'm so smart.
I do want to come back to that actually seriously, because it's a really important moment in terms of the character relationships of Dean recognizes that but the reason he petitions them to be like, no, Sam and I got to go off, and Dad, you've got to go off, is because he's like, Dad's going to be in danger. Not because he thinks they're in danger if they're with John, but because John's in danger if he's with them. And that he recognizes that they are John's weak spot, which I, have some questions about. I'm not sure. I think they are John's weak spot, but I also think John would have no problems using that weak spot to John's own advantage in his revenge mission. Yeah, it is interesting, the conflicting pressure, and that they do go along ultimately with Dean's plan.
Mm-hmm. Which is also John's plan.
It's
mostly the pressure for them to go in, and Sam is just not wanting that to happen.
Yeah. Well, because again, Sam is looking for this whole thing to be over. Sam is looking for this story to move forward. Sam has been looking for that since the pilot. He's been looking for them to find whatever killed Jess and Mom and get him out of this fucking life that he's stuck in. And so like they finally found John after it's been like over 6 months of looking, and he's like, and now we're gonna let John go off again.
All right, I have to read some of these notes because they're
I didn't get them to you to read out.
No, it's just one section. It's funny.
Okay, read this one section and then we're gonna move into our next segment.
Dean tells John he can't come with them. Sam wants him to roles reversed. They're gonna use this to get to him. Dad is stronger without us around. Sam begs John, I'm gonna be part of this fight. John, you gotta let me go.
I think that was supposed to be I gotta be part of this fight, but it's so much better with I gonna be part of this fight.
I'm pretty sure you meant to have Sam wants him to and roles reversed separate, but it's just so funny to hear. Sam wants him to roles reversed. I'm gonna be part of this fight.
I mean, you're not wrong, Sam. Sam is gonna be a part of this fight.
I understood what you meant, but I could also understand that you were probably high when you wrote this. Okay.
We are going to move on to our going meta segment so that Abigail does not have 2 hours worth of content to edit for a 45-minute episode.
We're gonna finish this podcast if it fucking kills us.
We're gonna fly through these segments. So going meta.
I'd like to point out how I appreciate that you put in 2 sections for significant deaths, that they're meaningful and significant, because I bugged you enough to change it.
It's true. If you've listened to Jacob's earlier
that was you.
You've listened to Jacob's earlier episodes. We've taken feedback. I have taken feedback, and we have 2 counters in terms of deaths. So
I would like to change how you worded that. I peer pressured you to change it.
you peer pressured me to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sometimes peer pressure can be positive. I think it's a positive change.
It better be.
Okay. So, Jacob, now that we have two of these, now you are going to have to be the one that remembers what are the meaningful deaths in this episode.
The meaningful deaths. Actually, there's only one in this one.
One.
Because Meredith.
One on screen and one reference.
The old man.
Yeah, we only ever find out.
Okay, wait, we're classifying just all the deaths as meaningful deaths. Oh, that's nice.
I liked listening to Sam get there all on her own. You started as a question and then got there on her. You got to the point.
Oh, that's so nice. I love that. That's great.
Yes, so meaningful deaths, meaning people who had meaning, who died in this episode.
Yes, who had meaning to the specific episode.
Yes, so we have, and significant character deaths in this episode. We have a fake out character death for a very short period of time where we believe Meg is dead and the boys, regardless of whether or not we as viewers believe Meg is dead, the boys and presumably John as well for a very short period of time. John as well, believe that Meg is dead. Obviously she's not. We don't have any actual significant character deaths in this episode.
Yeah.
Next is the Bechdel test.
Failed. Next.
Yeah, failed. Next. Next is our lore check. So we get more demon lore in this episode. The Devas are like a shadow demon. So they're invisible other than their shadows, and they're incredibly violent, and they also don't seem to be like rational thought. Like they don't seem to be as capable of like rational thought or communication in the same way that other demons that we've kind of been told about are. And maybe they are, we just don't know enough.
They're almost like they're like they're a lot more like you just control them. They're controllable demons.
Yeah. As opposed to other, like the demon in Phantom Traveler, which was a demon that possessed a human and took down a plane. That's the other instance of like an interaction with a demon that we've had so far in the show. And as far as I can remember, and I didn't actually look this up, so correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. This is pretty much the only time we get this specific type of demon mentioned or appeared, and that's significant. Which also plays into the fact that they stop these demons temporarily in a very specific way that they'll never use again. They use the like flare to basically like blast out all the shadows so they can get away. Any other lore specifics that either of you noticed for world building?
Nothing really. Like, It
Yeah.
was very just like, there was just like a lot of mention of demons and stuff in the final conversation. So
and we get the symbol, that is obviously associated with Meg, that was in the first one of the victims' houses that they traced out, and then Meg also was wearing it on a pendant,
and it was on the table.
It was on the table written in blood. So that symbol obviously is connected to Meg / to whoever she's been calling. In terms of locations, we this is filmed in a bar and a hostel and an inn and a hotel, all kind of around Vancouver. There's just a lot of different like B grade housing locations because they move around in a lot of different locations on this episode, actually, quite a bit.
Oh, and we made fun of the first shot of the movie where it was a back alley and filmed in Vancouver, and it looked like they just dumped a pile of newspapers on the ground and then did a wind machine and just pushed them all down the street, which is so inaccurate to any city.
It was like an unreasonable amount of newspapers. We just didn't buy that there'd be that many newspapers. Like litter, yes, for sure, but it's like an entire paperboy load just got dropped on the ground and then blown around.
By an actual wind machine, not even by the wind, because the wind's not that strong.
I'm not sure why that was necessary for that shot, but I don't know. In terms of story locations,
Chicago, Illinois.
We're in a real city this episode.
Hey, no, Hibbing
Yes.
that was a real town.
Yeah, no, we've been in a bunch of real cities. I'm just specifying because we've also been in some not real cities. So
I look up every episode that I'm on if it's a real city or not, because I'm genuinely interested, because I like to know like if they actually
what they've constructed.
If the characters are, or if the towns that the characters are in are real.
Yeah, and Chicago is going to be
Chicago's real.
In case you didn't know, Chicago is also going to be a recurring significant city in the show.
It's a big city.
It's a big city. Lots of things happen in it. They return to it lots. But some like fairly big significant things later on in the show will happen around Chicago. A bunch of significant events in season 5 happen around Chicago. What did you say, Sam?
You just say Chicago, funny. Chicago.
Okay.
It just reminded me of Nick Miller when he's like, Chicago, I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm keeping that in the episode. Thank you for doing your Nick Miller impression. When Sam and I were growing up, we used to lie in bed really late at night, and we had bunk beds, and Sam would do impressions of characters from TV shows and like voices. So this is a good callback to our childhood. It was great.
That's 2 other shows that we have now referenced. We referenced New Girl, and then we referenced Community earlier on.
Next up is pop culture references. Take it away from the references I have in notes.
Dean references the musical Our Town
to make fun of Sam, who was in that musical when Sam was
before Sam became an actor. Or
like no. That's not a reference to the actor. That's just like an in-show. That's just saying that like Sam Winchester, the character, was in a musical of our time, which would be unsurprising for him given what we know of him as a child. So the next reference that I found really entertaining was Meg, when she sees Sam and Sam kind of asks her like, oh, what happened in California? Like, I thought you were in California. She says, oh, I did. I came, I saw, I conquered. Oh, and I met, what's his name? Something Michael Murray at a bar. And that is a reference to Chad Michael Murray, who was an actor on Gilmore Girls and was actually a rival of Jared Padalecki's character on that show. So that like only a couple of years before.
I actually didn't know that, but I wrote down that she was like very specific about a certain name, and I was like,
that's why.
That's got to mean something. I don't understand.
It's because Jared and Chad Michael Murray's characters were romantic rivals of a sort on Gilmore Girls only a couple years before, and especially season 1 likes to make digs at Jared for his role in Gilmore Girls, which is mostly hilarious. I'm gonna go to international titles. The only one that is really very different than the English title of Shadow is in German, it's called Deadly Shadows, just to be real specific. But yeah.
Cool.
And last but not least, in our Going Meta, we have our Gaydar segment.
Where does gayness come from and how is it transmitted?
So, Gaydar in this episode. I mean, this is just more of Dean flirting with everyone. But he doesn't really flirt with any dudes because there's not really any dudes in this episode for him to flirt with.
This is some hardcore heterosexual horniness, if I ever saw it.
Yeah. And some toxic masculinity to boot.
Cool.
That's about it. There's not really anything else gay in this episode, unfortunately.
No gays here in the episode.
There's plenty of gays in this podcast.
I meant in the episode. That was the joke. Yeah. There are, but in the episode there aren't.
There's also, I mean, I would also argue there's plenty of gays in this episode.
I thought that it
very
was
firmly closeted ones.
I thought it was a very funny joke. You guys just didn't laugh.
Is that all your jokes?
No.
Are you high? Why are you taking so long to answer?
Drunk.
You're drunk off of one beer.
You're drinking.
Yeah.
Wow, Abigail, what substance do you have?
I have
lack of sleep.
A more potent substance than most.
Yes.
We are we're going to end today because we need to
Finally.
at some point. Hopefully, well, I don't know if
Alrighty.
we're going to end today. I think we're going to hit past midnight in this recording, but
Yep.
we are going to finish today with a predictions segment. So Jacob, what do you think's coming next?
How the fuck do I know? I don't know. I think they're gonna do some more supernatural things and hunt more monsters.
What do you think's gonna happen? So last time you were
In the plot, dude.
last time you made a prediction. You predicted that Meg was working with Papa Jeffrey, and that Dean was gonna die. So now you've that prediction's been. Do you have any revisions to your prediction?
Okay, well, the Dean dying was definitely just me making shit up and screwing with you.
Yeah, no, I'm aware, but I'm
Okay,
just
good.
But he hasn't he?
No, he hasn't. Almost, but he hasn't.
That's what I was counting, the almost.
I still kind of think that something's fishy with Meg and Papa Jeff.
Okay.
But I honestly don't know. I imagine that there's probably going to be a couple more filler episodes before, because we're getting close to the end.
We are getting really close to the end. So I'm going to say we only have a few more episodes before really the finale of this season, like the big finishing of the season happens. So we are coming up to the end of the season. So
okay, yeah.
I think you'll find out about your predictions soon enough.
Cool.
Anything you want to say, Sam, about what's coming next from what you remember or don't remember?
More of Dane flirting.
Yeah, there's gonna be more of that.
Fair. Oh, more pie loving.
I think there's also gonna be more of that this season.
Hell yeah.
We are also gonna get in a couple episodes our very first extended flashback episode to their childhood.
Mm-hmm.
In episode, I believe it's episode 9, episode 18, Something Wicked.
Okay.
Which is going to be a great episode. So come back for that episode. We'll be talking about Something Wicked. Is there anything else either of you want to say about this episode?
Nope, I'm good. Move on.
Yeah, I'm good.
So that is now the end of our show. Thank you to Jacob and Sam for joining me today. Okay, Jacob.
Yeah.
Wow, good job. So strong.
Continue.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna continue. You can find Jacob and some of his other content on the internet at Jacob Hagen on YouTube.
It comes out, when I have time.
When you have time in your busy life.
When I have time in my very busy. Well, when I have time and when I feel like it.
When you're not like taking your free time to be on this podcast and you actually have time to make your own content.
Yeah. I do want to get into a more of a rhythm of making content. So be on the lookout for that.
And I will also link to it in the show notes. And to our listeners, thank you for coming along for this fun season 1 ride. And we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again. Next week, we will be discussing season 1, episode 17, Hell House, through the theme of youth.
Podcast out.
Have a good week, guys. A note to our listeners. This episode was recorded prior to our season 3 name change, where we went from Driver Picks the Podcast to Saving People, Queering Things. For all of our new social media platforms, visit queeringthingspodcast.com.